Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in to Growth Journey, where we talk about and bring in amazing founders who have really shown and who have really grown, and at the same time have made some good exit. And today with us, we have Arjun Vaidya, who is the founder and CEO of Dr. Vaidya's. They recently made a very large exit of over $30 million, or if we translate that into an INR, that's about 100 crores. 100 crores. So Arjun, thank you so much for joining in. I think it's a super pleasure to have you over here. And people who don't know you yet, you're already a superstar, but people who don't know you yet, if you can just take a moment to introduce yourself to everyone, I think that would be fantastic.
Sounds good, Uditya. So maybe I'll spend like about 10 minutes introducing myself and then talking about the journey and what got us here. And then we can deep dive into questions from you or questions from everyone else and
Oh, definitely. That sounds perfect.
peel the onion. So look, guys, Vaidya, my last name means Ayurvedic doctor. I come from a legacy of 150 plus years of Ayurveda in my family. So my grandfather, great grandfather, and generations before all Ayurvedic doctors. The legacy of our business was not a business actually; it was an Ayurvedic clinic. So my great grandfather moved from Gujarat to Bombay in 1923. He set up a small Ayurvedic clinic here, and as was customary at the time, my dada studied medicine, um, and then graduated from medical school, joined his father in the family practice of Ayurveda, and then eventually took on his father's practice in 1971. In the 80s and 90s, he became one of India's most successful Ayurvedic doctors. He used to see 300 to 350 patients a day in his clinic, had 5,000 plus patients on a monthly basis, signed them via post. And post was the e-commerce of that time, right? So had all of these patients signed them via post. And from there, actually built a pretty large clinic, which I would say is an enterprise, but he never really cared for building a business. He didn't care for sales, distribution, marketing, strategy. And my dad graduated from college, and this is what he was excited about, right? He wanted to build a brand, he wanted to build a business. So we tried to work together for a year, but doctors and businessmen don't see eye to eye. And so eventually, my dad went his own way and started what is now our family business, a very successful business in the jewelry and watch space. And he's been running that for the last 35 plus years. But I was born with juvenile bronchitis. I suffered from asthma from age 2. I grew up with pumps, nebulizers, inhalers, steroids. Like most kids, I went to play cricket at age 5. And by age 7, my dada moved me off the cricket field because there was too much dust in the cricket grounds in Bombay. I think with that, I also had what I thought wasn't a normal childhood, right? When we were growing up, kids used to have Coke, Limca, Fanta, Sprite, and Lay's at birthday parties. I was the only kid who couldn't have any energy drinks because it would jack my throat and I wouldn't feel great. I was the only kid who couldn't have ice cream. Right? I had my first ice cream at age 13, went on a Sunday to Baskin Robbins with my parents, waited for the ice cream to melt because it would jack my throat. And then, yeah, uh, eventually had to wait till I had ice cream soup the first time, right? So it always felt to me like Ayurveda wasn't, like asthma wasn't allowing me to have a normal childhood. And so I got an Ayurvedic treatment, and about 14 years of painstaking Ayurvedic treatment later, I was cured of asthma, so I stopped having the problem. But this time I'd moved to high school. I was in the Ambani school doing my IB, and I started playing cricket again. That's the first thing I did, right? I was fine now, I could play cricket, so I started playing cricket again. And it wasn't a great cricket team, it wasn't a big cricket team. We were uh, we were in our entire year only 20 people interested in playing cricket, no coach. So we convinced a British history teacher to become our coach. There were only 10 people who came to some practices, 3 people who came to every practice, and I was one of those 3. So I was made captain of my school cricket team. Not because I was the best player, because I was the most regular to practice. And that's something I learned from my grandfather, right? Be disciplined and consistent. And so that was a big moment in my life, right? Ayurveda had allowed me to, had sort of helped me overcome asthma and then eventually have a normal childhood and go back to playing cricket, which was really exciting for me. And so I started believing in the science more than just being family legacy. I spent time with my grandfather growing up. I learned about the formulations. I transcribed the formulations from scriptures to the computer. And with all of that, like, learned about really what this thing called Ayurveda was. I went in 2009 for my undergrad to the US to Brown University. And I went there to study biochemistry, biotechnology, and come back and take on the Ayurveda legacy. Ended up studying economics and politics. My grandfather was not so happy, and so he stopped. He decided to pay for my education because I was going to take on the legacy, but After one semester, he stopped paying because he said, if you're not going to study this, then let your dad pay for this. I'm not interested. But my experience in the US actually shaped the way I thought about business, about life. I went and saw this store called Whole Foods and it blew my mind. Right? Why did it blow my mind? Because customers were willing to pay top dollar for national organic products. And this didn't exist in India in 2009. Right? I also went for a yoga class which was taught by my Dutch friend. And that started confusing me. Like, why is yoga's Indians? Why aren't Indians teaching it? And then I saw yoga mats, yoga gyms, yoga apparel boom, multi-billion-dollar industry, not just in the US, across the world. Anywhere in the world you go, people know what yoga is, right? And so I started thinking to myself, like, it's great that it's globally proliferated, but it's not so great that India has nothing to do with it, right? Indian companies have not taken yoga to the world. And so I remember calling my grandfather from campus and saying, hey, like, it's great that yoga has become global, but in Ayurveda, we should be Indian companies taking Ayurveda to the world. Came back to India, I'm very patriotic. I wear this band with the Indian flag on my hand at all times for the last 12 years. And so I came back to India straight after college, 2013. Got a job in private equity at a fund called L Capital, now called L Carrington, and focused on investing in the consumer sector. Right? So met more than 150 entrepreneurs between the age of 21 and 24 for building businesses across apparel, retail, lifestyle, watch and jewelry, wines and spirits, fashion, and learned a lot about the Indian consumer. Spent a lot of time on the Indian consumer. We were invested in companies like Fab India, PVR, and with that, I also spent time on thinking about what has changed in the Indian consumer. And I saw three big things change from the time I was growing up to 2013, 14. One, Indian consumers were happy to consume Indian brands, right? Quintessentially Indian brands. I grew up in India where I was gifted a Japanese electronic sharpener from a store that sold only imported products. At that time, what was considered imported was good and what was considered Indian was substandard, right? And this had changed fundamentally. Sorry, you can't hear me, is it?
Yeah, Arjun, we can hear you, but your voice is sort of like a bit robotic. So might want to just check on that very, very quick.
Maybe I'll move closer to the screen. Can you hear me better now?
It's just a bit very robotic for some reason.
Then maybe I'll have to leave and join back.
Can you try again?
Yeah, I can leave and join back.
No, I think it's better now, I think.
So I think I grew up in India, which was obsessed with imported products. Right? I came back to India, we were happy to consume quintessentially Indian brands. And that was really exciting to me. It was new, right? The second thing I saw was, in my first week at work, I got to spend time on this thing called e-commerce, right? In my first week at work, my boss asked me a question. She said, hey, you think Indians will buy clothes online? And the company we were talking about was Myntra. This was 2013-14. Think about today, 8 years later, where we are, right? So I spent time in the early part of e-commerce on companies like Myntra, Jabong, Pepperfry, Lime Tray, and really saw that e-commerce was here to stay. It was not a fad, it was here to stay. And the third thing, which from a macro perspective I saw was 2014 government change, Ministry of Ayush was created, and hundreds of thousands of consumers like you became interested in Ayurveda, became excited about Ayurveda. And so this was the macro. From a micro perspective, unfortunately, my grandfather passed. And so I had this rich legacy, these formulations. At some point in my life, I made a promise to my grandfather to take forward the legacy. And so that was it. I said, look, I'm 24 and a half years old. If not now, then when? And I quit my job in private equity in October 2016. I took on the family legacy with the idea that I want to take my grandfather's formulation and make a brand out of it. Right? So first port of call is name, and name was very easy, Dr. Vaidya, because that was my grandfather's name, and Vaidya means Ayurvedic doctor. But the idea with the brand was to take 5,000 years of science and 150 years of family legacy and repackage and rebrand to appeal to you with it. That was the idea, right? Like, can we make it appealing and accessible to modern consumers? That was the thought process behind the brand. How did we start? October 2016, brands in India were being built offline. And so that's where we went. We had a big launch event at Taj Lands Hotel. We launched our 2 products at that time, and the launch event was very successful. We signed on 6 distributors straight after the launch event, hired 22 sales reps, and then launched our brand in Mumbai. Jan 2017, we did 10 lakhs of sales, 10 lakhs of billing to distributors. And for me, like private equity analyst, me was very excited. Like 10 lakhs, making an Excel sheet, 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs, 50 lakhs, 1 crore, 5 crores. It's already $1 million a month business in a 12-month period in my head, right? What is the reality? 3 months later, I got 90% of this product returned to me. Why? Because I didn't know how to do offline. I didn't have money. And I could not compete with the ATL budgets of Dabur, Imami, Patanjali, Zandu, Himalaya. Right? And so consumers didn't know who I was, and nobody bought from retailers. And then I realized actually I built to distributors. Distributors had to build to retailers. Retailers had to build to Udit. Only Udit bought what I get paid. And Udit didn't buy my product. And so I got 90% of this product back. And I realized actually that 10 lakhs of sales was 1 lakh of sales. Right? And that got me thinking.
Arjun, sorry to interrupt you, but I think there are a few people who are commenting as well. It's kind of like very hard to listen to you because there is like your voice is robotic, so they're finding it like a little hard to.
Let me try to.
All right. So sorry about that, guys. Arjun should be joining in just a moment. Meanwhile, Santosh, I see you raising your hand. Maybe you can just drop in your question in the QA section. And at the end of this discussion, if anyone wants to join in the call itself, we would just send you a panelist invite as well. So you can ask your questions directly to Arjun at that stage, and again, have a very good opportunity to interact with him and ask your question, because again, the guy has made a brilliant exit of 100 CR, and now he's a full-time D2C VC. So any one of you who is also running a D2C brand right now, have a very, very, very big opportunity to sort of raise capital as well. You know, that's the best point about having this particular session. So I've just moved him to the panelist, and he is back.
This is better now?
Oh, it's perfect now.
Awesome. So I'll pick up where I left off, right? So we were at this point where I'd never seen such a big failure in my life. It was like monumental failure for me. I was totally distraught. And then I thought to myself, like, why is this happening? And I realized what I said, that I had no ATL budgets, no way to compete with these large brands. And so there had to be something new that had to be done. Right? In this time, my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, she was in the founding team at Nykaa, and she said, look, offline, you have no right to win, but nobody is winning in this online game. You've seen it your time as an investor in the e-commerce space. I've seen it at Nykaa. Why don't you take up the online opportunity? So I convinced her to join the business. We got engaged. She joined the business. And November 2017, we set off on our online journey with Dr. Vaidya. And that's what everyone knows Dr. Vaidya is today. Launched a website, launched 29 products, didn't know anything about e-commerce and online business. Right? We learned Facebook, Google, Instagram, Shopify, WooCommerce, Amazon, supply chain ops, logistics, customer service, delivery. And in the first year, we spoke to every single customer to learn where the gap was. After 1 year, in November 2018, we had 50 orders a day on our website. Now think about 2018. Today, you'll tell me, oh, this 50 orders a day, not a big deal. But November 2018, single branded Ayurvedic website, 50 orders a day was exceptional. It was like 50,000 rupees a day, 30,000 rupees a day is big deal. And I remember checking my Google Analytics, 30,000 rupees, that's what I hit today. It's unbelievable, right? But what we also understood was, actually the value we were adding was we were giving high quality Ayurvedic products and care at the touch of consumers' fingertips, right? Now, why was this exciting? Because in Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad, you have access to an Ayurvedic doctor. You do. But in Anantnag, Trichy, Muzaffarnagar, you don't have that. And so for these customers, we gave them a free consultation, which my grandfather offered in this clinic online, plus high quality Ayurvedic products to touch of their fingertips. They'd never seen this before. And that was the value we were adding. At 50 orders a day, customer acquisition cost of 30-35% of average order value, I smelled the business. I knew that this could be something really, really large. And so pretty much from there, we embarked on the journey of scale. Right? And the great part about digital businesses, once you're doing something right, for you to hyper scale, that is very easy. Long story short, over the next 2 years, We launched another 60 products, got to 80 products. Went from 50 to 5,000 orders a day, grew 100 times. We launched 80 products, had a basket of 80 products, had 2 million plus transacting customers. Most importantly, across 16,500 pin codes. And for context, 16,500 pin codes is more than 60% of India. 3-year-old brand reaching 60% of India, 500 plus cities. We raised a Series A round of capital from RT Sanjeev Goenka Group, close to $5 million. March 2020, all of you guys know what happened. COVID hit us. It was scary times for all of us, but Ayurveda went through just a crazy boost, right? Government was saying Ayurveda for immunity, and consumers who were never interested about Ayurveda came to us. We were really smart about staying open all through the pandemic. We did what we could to stay open. We launched 7 products in the worst of the pandemic from March to July 2020. Had exponential growth in that time period. And I think RP Sanjeev Goenka Group as a large group with interest in FMCG by December 2020 thought was sort of large enough asset for them to want to acquire. So we made an offer to buy the business. We thought it was fair value for what we had done. And so we accepted the offer. Between Jan and March of 2021, my wife Trisha and I, we handed over the business to them and officially exited our equity position and sold the business to them in March 21. I mean, we'll get questions and I'm sure we'll get questions on why we decided to exit, and I'm happy to answer that. But I wanted to spend maybe a minute or two on what I do now and then open the floor to deep diving on the journey, getting into questions. So after we exited the business, I think for us, what was important was this journey of 4 years, we had to use some of that to give back to the ecosystem. And so we used our learnings, started mentoring, advising startups, made a playbook on D2C, which we now teach as a cohort-based course, but also started making angel investments. In the last year, we've made more than 60 angel investments between Trisha and I. That's our way to give back to the ecosystem and enable the ecosystem. And both Udit and I are very passionate about that. And I think that's why we're having this conversation today on a Saturday evening, right? I also now run a venture capital fund. So I run the VC arm of World Invest in India. World Invest is one of the largest investors in the consumer space, has been for the last 25 years. In India, investing for the last 10 years. In iconic brands like Sula, Viva, Epigamia, Purple, Wakefit, and Byju's. But more on the growth equity side. And so they started a venture fund to invest $1 to $5 million with me in India. Just invested our first investment in a company called Cuckoo FM in the vernacular podcasting space, and we continue to do that. I end this with my 3 big learnings, or my 3 key learnings in my 4.5 years as an entrepreneur. And now my 1 year as an investor, and then happy to open up to questions. I think the first thing is, we're reading a lot about unicorns and large funding rounds and big exits and all of that in the news and the media. But the reality is that entrepreneurship is a roller coaster ride that makes you face failure on a daily basis. And so the hallmark for me of a good founder is someone who's able to have a thick skin and fight failure with grit and resilience a lot, right? So that's my first learning. Be able to fight failure on a daily basis. My second one is I was a really young founder, right? And so I thought I could do everything myself at 24, 25, 26. But 2 people putting 12 hours a day is much less compounding than 8 people putting 10 hours a day. And so early on, it's really important to build a large, strong, empowered team to really compound the effects of a high-scale startup. Number 3, right? I meet a lot of young people now who want to start up, but they're like, okay, no, I have this job, and then I'm going to continue this job. I'm going to do my startup on the side, and then when my startup scales, then I'll quit my job and take it from there. But my view is you can't be slightly pregnant with entrepreneurship. Right? You're either in or you're out. My podcast, for example, I run, that's my hobby. And that's fine to be done. But if I want to build something on real scale, I have to be 100% in. It's okay to not be 100% in to say I'm not an entrepreneur. If you want to be an entrepreneur and build something on scale, you got to be 100%. So I think those are my 3 key learnings as I was scaling my business. Happy to open the floor to questions and hear from you guys.
Arjun, I think a lot of questions definitely, a lot of people definitely have a lot of questions. I have a ton of questions. So I think before we move to Santosh and Milind, whom I have added to ask a question, here is my first question for you. when you are sort of like investing, like I want to talk about like your investor journey first, because that's a fresh new journey, and then we'll dive into some of the past journey where we talk about scaling and everything. So when you are kind of like investing in any of the upcoming D2C brands, consumer brands, do you look into investing into startups that are built to last, or they are building to exit? Like, what's your thought process? Like, are you coming in for a very long term as an investment, or it's usually like short term, or maybe you'll probably stick around for 2-3 rounds and then you'll probably look to make an exit?
Look, I think you can't, like, a lot of people ask me, like, how do I build my business to exit, right? That's the worst thing you can do to your business. Build a business for scale. You'll get many options along the way. Take the options as they come. But if you don't build a business for sort of a long period of time, you don't build a business the right way, you'll never get someone who wants to buy a business, right? And so my view is, when you make an investment, when you start a company, when you run a company, build it for scale. The outcomes will come as they come. Right? It's a lot about timing, right place at right time, right scale at right time. So I think that's my view. Don't build a business to exit, and don't invest in a business if you see an exit.
Awesome.
If that doesn't happen with you, you're in deep trouble, right?
No, absolutely. I 100% agree with you. Okay, moving on to the next one. We'll go ahead with Santosh. Santosh, please go ahead and ask your question to Arjun.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi, Santosh.
Yeah. Hi. Okay. So actually, we are into kids ethnic wear garments. Actually, so we are selling it in online. Bujuma.com. 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 We are focusing only on ethnic wears actually. So for the past 3 years, we have been doing it in India as well as other countries like UK and US. So we sometimes clients who visits from other countries, they directly comes to our manufacturing unit and they buy it. So in this kind of way, we are focusing on online sales actually. So my question is, so in which, what time we need to go for that fundraising? So that's my question actually. So right now we are doing basic level of sales in online. Actually, we are running an IT company, so it's one of the part of the company actually. So Bujuma.com is one of the online D2C.
Yeah, look, I think every business doesn't need to raise funding. Every business doesn't need to raise capital. I would say the right time to raise funding is when you've reached the level, you see some more, and you can't do the existing resources. That's the right time to raise funding. So you've not reached that level, go ahead, push yourself, reach the level that you can do yourself, and then raise external capital. External capital should be viewed as a catalyst to growth, not the way to start. That's my view.
Okay. So the thing is, so we are expecting funding to invest on marketing actually, so that we will generate more revenue, right? So in part of sales, so we can expect more sales when we are getting a marketing team, when we are investing on digital marketing like SEO team, AdWords team, so that we can start getting traffic, we can start generating more customers to purchase the brands. Most of the customers' feedbacks are something like, so we never get any products like this in this much of quality and price. Since we are manufacturing and selling, so with the minimum margin, we are giving a pure silk, that kind of quality. So that so we just wanted to increase our sales actually. We just wanted to reach more clients. So with our limited budget, we are using our team. We are spending SEO. We are spending it for SEO and other kind of budgets. So we just wanted to extend actually to some sort of extensions.
I think that's the right. That could be the right way of looking at it. I would say that invest some of your money, show a proof of concept. Say, here, I've got to 50 orders a day with my own money, and this is where I'm capping out, and that's why I need the money. As long as you get there, it could be the right time to raise capital.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Santosh, for your question.
Yeah. Thank you.
No worries. Santosh, again, if you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to Arjun. Maybe after that, he'll probably drop his email, so you can always get connected with him.
Okay.
Milind, can you go next?
Yeah. Hi, Udat. Hi, Arjun. Well, first of all, thanks a lot for providing this platform. I mean, it's super amazing. I usually don't attend a lot of webinars, but like this was Arjun was coming up, so I was like, I had to do this. So Arjun, very glad to meet you. I mean, I have worked on your brand actually in the backend. So the UI UX of Dr. Vaidya, when it was done by the agency, I was actually involved in the backend process. So
Which
I'll
agency?
just give you. I wouldn't want to name it. Probably let's connect after this. I'm running a marketing agency myself as well. So I'll just give you a brief about myself, a little brief, and then I'll come to the question quickly because I know there are a lot of people, asking questions, so I won't take a lot of time. So I have been into this digital space since I was 14 years of age. That's when I started with affiliate marketing. I became a business development head of a Fortune 500 company and did 2.5 years job in cpd.com. That was the Fortune 500 company I was working for. After that, in 14-15, I got into drop shipping. My business model was scaling brands $200,000 a month in drop shipping model, and then selling those brands off on Flippa. That was my business model. So I've learned. I've made a lot of money. I have lost a lot of money. I've came here after figuring things out, multiple businesses out. What I figured out was what I love doing is running ads, seeing sales on Shopify, and scaling brands. So that is what I'm doing right now. I run a marketing agency, Pied Piper Marketing it is, and we are working with some amazing brands right now. With that said, before this pandemic, my dad wanted to get into a sweets business, mithai ki shop. So that's what he wanted to do. So we invested close to one CR in that business. With marketing skills and everything, I took the business to almost 1 lakh a sale, offline sales. And then the pandemic hit. Kharche bhi nahi nikle the, and things went down the drain. Now, what we are trying to do right now is, and this is where I'm coming to my question, or the proposal, or whatever we can say. We are taking this online. So what we have seen in the sweets businesses, Haldiram, Bikaner, Mithas, these are all 3-4 brands which chal rahi hain, but these have a presence offline. Just like your brand, as you said, they don't have a proper presence online. Website sabka hai, deliver sahi se nahi hota, marketing nahi hoti, performance marketing nahi hoti. So I have scaled brands from which were doing lakh a day to 30 lakh a day, 30 lakh a month in span of 2 months, 3 months. So that is how I scale things. So this is what I'm planning to do right now. But the only problem that I'm seeing for myself is I'm not an operations guy. I don't like getting into operations. What I like to do is I like to build, teams. I like to scale brands up, get orders in place. But that back-end process where all the things like delivery, RTO kitna ho raha hai, getting into numbers, seeing the profitability, all that thing, I just don't like it. I mean, that's not what I do. So I just want to figure out what is this way where probably, I don't know if you would want to, how can we work together if we can on this particular thing? Because the scope and the margins on sweets are super amazing. 100 rupees ki cheez bikti hai, 1000 rupees ki bikti hai. That is the kind of margin. And, so yeah, that was the question I wanted to ask.
I just invested in a sweets business actually.
You did? All right. Okay, you did.
Stevia-based sweets business. I think Udit
Okay.
shared it with you as well.
Okay.
But look, I think your idea is really exciting.
Sure.
Really interesting. So happy to connect offline. But I will say one thing. If you don't get to do the ops yourself, you'll have to find someone as a co-founder to do it. Because
Fair enough.
but I don't enjoy it. Can I use someone's help to do it? That's not a scalable thing.
Sure.
That's meaningful and long lasting. I'm not. I don't want to say I'm not good at ops. I don't want to say I don't like ops, but I'm not good at it. But my wife was good, and so she was my co-founder, and that's what she looked at while we were building Dr. Vaidya. Someone has to.
Got it. No, that's a very fair point. So sure, let's probably connect offline. Then let's talk about that agency, and then probably let's talk about how we can probably work in future if we can.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Arjun.
Thank you so much, Milind, for your question. So Arjun, a quick question. Do you invest in similar businesses, right, in the same niche, or is it a conflict of interest for you as an investor?
It depends how similar the businesses are. If they're competing with each other, it's not great to invest.
Got it. Okay, perfect. We're going to move to Aditya and then Shabia. Aditya, please go ahead and ask your question. You'll have to unmute yourself, Aditya. No, Aditya is still here. Okay, we'll move to Shabia then. Shabia, please go ahead and introduce yourself and ask your question. By the way, good to see you here.
Yeah. Hey, Udit. Hi, Arjun. How are you?
Hey Shabya, how are you doing?
I am good, Arjun. So, Arjun, you know about my business. I'm in a natural skincare space. And
Wild Earth.
yes, oh, thank you. This is an honor that you know my brand. Arjun, ek baat batao, when you were scaling up, what were the three things which really, really helped you scale from, say, 100 orders a day to, say, 500 orders a day, or even from, say, 0 to 100? What were the things which really, and I'm really looking for three tools kind of thing, ki FB ads, and yeah, so great. I would love that insight from you.
Yeah, look, I would say one is building customer trust. So,
Okay.
like, there's lots of brands available in this country. Right? There are lots of customers, there are lots of brands. So, building customer trust towards the brand and the credibility of the brand, that's one. And that takes a lot of activities outside just performance marketing, from a brand to a perception, portrayal, etc. Number two, actually knowing what's helping you scale, right? So, to the nitty-gritties of the technicality of saying, hey, my ads are running at 30% of average order value. And so these ad sets work and these don't, and this is what I should scale. Getting back into saying, hey, these products are working, these products aren't, these ads are working, these ads aren't. And knowing the technicalities, that's number two. Because really in digital, if you're doing X and you do it right, you can do 3X and 5X, right? You don't have to open another city, hire 20 more people, etc. That
Yeah.
you can hyper scale.
Yeah.
That's the second thing. And I want to say the third thing actually is, look, I think any brand is a flywheel, right? And so
Yeah.
once you're scaling, everything starts scaling, right? And so
Yeah.
picking up those network effects fast enough, right? So we were focused on our website only because we weren't strong enough as a brand, and so Amazon wasn't working as well for us, and it would cost too much money. But the moment our brand started working, like 100 to 200 hours a day, we started focusing on Amazon, and Amazon automatically started scaling, right? So picking up that flywheel at the right time and then building the network effects to your brand. I would say these three things.
Okay. And just one addition to that, that you said you suffered huge losses in retail and it all came back. So after you started scaling up, you never felt the need to go back and open a retail shop, or because, हमारे business में बोलते हैं ना, you have to feel, touch the product and all that, but you never felt the need because you were doing so well online.
Look, I would say that this feel touch the product thing, if Mamaearth can do 60, 80 crores a month without feel touch the product, or at least 30, 40 crores from online, and so can Wow, then that's a long way to go, right? The second thing I would say is, what I talk to brands about today is go offline as long as you're sure you're getting the cash. If your cash is stuck in the offline channel and stay there forever, then that's not exciting.
Okay, got it. Thank you, Arjun. All the best to you. Thanks so much.
Hi Udit. Hi Arjun.
Hi.
Myself.
Yeah.
सर फिलहाल मैं अभी ड्रॉप शिपिंग कर रहा हूँ, इंटरनेशनल भी और इंडिया पे भी, बट मेरा प्लान है D2C में कन्वर्ट होने का। और सर मैंने आपके और भी इंटरव्यूज देखे, सर मैं आपसे मिल सकता हूँ क्या?
आप रहते कहाँ हो?
सर मैं MP में रहता हूँ, मध्य प्रदेश में।
हाँ, तो आपको बॉम्बे आना होगा।
चलेगा सर, मैं कभी-कभी आता रहता हूँ। और
डन।
Yeah, you'll just have to Aditya, you'll just have to make sure that when you are traveling, he's in Mumbai. That's the only challenge you'll face.
There's no problem. सर अगर मिल सकते हैं तो मेरे लिए बहुत बड़ी बात होगी।
Surely.
Awesome, Aditya. Meanwhile, you have any questions for Arjun?
No, मिलके ही होगा जो।
Done.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to dive into some of the other. Perfect, Aditya. Thank you so much. So I'll move on to some of the other QAs before I dive into more questions that I have for him. So the first question is from Alok from QA. So Arjun, he's asking where and how to start finding a buyer. I think this is a great question for any D2C brand that's just starting.
I think this one is like, I answered it already. I think this one is you got to build a good business and then the buyer will come. Right? Don't look for a buyer.
Still, like any specific strategy, like, so let's say whenever you're building a D2C, before starting any Shopify site, would you recommend to first start listing on all the marketplaces to see the demand? Or
In today's construct, it's non-negotiable to try marketplace and website and then track what works, where the customers, the digital numbers tell you the answers to your questions, right? If your CAC on your website is really high, but on Amazon it's low, it's clear with it that customers are buying you on your, want to buy you on Amazon. That's what you proceed with, right? So non-negotiable, if you try both marketplaces and website and then see where you end up.
Sir, what was your starting capital when you started your business?
Arjun, if you can, sorry, Aditya, if you can just drop in your question in the QA or just wait, because that way we can keep the flow in. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, Arjun, moving back to this, to the second question. This is from Tushar. He's asking, why did you make 100 crore exit and did not continue?
Yeah, I think I knew I'd get this question. So look, I think exit may actually, it's what's the right time for you. And for my wife and I, it seemed like the right time. If Udit was in my place, maybe he would have done it, maybe he wouldn't have done it, right? But that's impossible to figure out. So what's the right time for you? And it seems like the right time for me, so that's fine. But maybe some others would have taken it, some others won't have. Sometimes I get messages saying you chose the perfect time. Today I got a message saying, हाँ आपने perfect timing किया because अभी D2C में थोड़ा heat कम हो रहा है. Some people say बहुत potential है Dr. Vaidya में इतना जल्दी क्यों किया? So that is a personal decision.
No,
Very difficult to time and exit.
No, I think it purely depends on, yeah, like you said, at the situation, right? You don't build a business to make an exit, but you build a business to just because you love it. And then if you keep getting options in your journey, that's something that you probably have to evaluate. So moving on to the next question, Aditya, if you have any questions right now, you can ask him, Arjun. Aditya?
Hello. Yes, sir. सर आप सर आपके पास कितना कैपिटल था सर जब आपने स्टार्ट किया इस बिजनेस को?
There was some money in my business that my grandfather had left behind. But tell me what your question is. My capital is not relevant.
सर यही क्वेश्चन था एक्चुअली.
My capital जो मेरे पास था वो क्या relevance है? आपका क्वेश्चन क्या है? How can I help you?
सर क्योंकि मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि मेरे पास कम कैपिटल है.
I think Arjun is probably.
I get the question. I wanted him to say it actually.
Yeah.
But digital business है, कम capital है तो वो कम capital invest करो, sales बनाओ और capital बना दो, वो वापस invest करो. People have started business with 5,000, 10,000 rupees also. I'm not saying कि मैंने 5,000 रुपए से start किया, मेरे पास थोड़ा ज्यादा था, but that's okay. आप ड्रॉप शिपिंग कर रहे हो तो हर महीना स्केल होगा, इंक्रीज होगा और कैपिटल मिल जाएगा. That's how you have to look at it.
Aditya, I'll just give you a few suggestions over here, right? What you can do. Dekho, if you don't have a capital to let's say even use Shopify, right? You can start with something as simple as WooCommerce, which is open source and free. You can transition into Shopify later on when you have more capital to invest. So you can use a platform known as Closety.com, which is a WordPress hosting platform, which will cost you about just $3 per month, जो कि करीबन कितना 230 रुपए पर महीने, which is peanuts, right? आपको एटलीस्ट 5,000 to 10,000 रुपीज तो लगेंगे ही लगेंगे कोई भी डिसेंट बिजनेस स्टार्ट करने के लिए ऑनलाइन. सो 230 रुपीज इज व्हाट यू आर स्पेंडिंग ऑन होस्टिंग. वहां पे आप वर्डप्रेस इंस्टॉल करो, वूकॉमर्स इंस्टॉल करो, इतने सारे थीम्स अवेलेबल है फॉर फ्री. वो थीम इंस्टॉल करो, यू गेट गोइंग देन. ठीक है, आप अपना रेजर पे का इंटीग्रेशन कर लो and then just list down your product and start selling the product in your inner circle first. देखो वहां से सेल्स आ रहा है कि नहीं आ रहा है. मतलब 230 रुपए में आप अपना बिजनेस स्टार्ट कर सकते हो. एंड कोई भी दूसरा प्रोडक्ट आपका प्रोडक्ट अगर आपके पास रेडी है, ठीक है, तो आप वो अपना प्रोडक्ट सेल करो. अगर नहीं है तो आई वुड से कि थोड़ा सा मे बी ड्रॉप शिपिंग ट्राई करो इन फॉर द प्रोडक्ट्स इन योर इंडस्ट्री. तो आपके पास थोड़ा सा कैपिटल आ जाएगा बनाने के लिए, एंड वो कैपिटल से फिर आप अपनी खुद की पैकेजिंग कर सकते हो. एंड उसके बाद you can search for manufacturers that are building those products. वहां से आप अपनी जर्नी स्टार्ट कर सकते हो. देखो, everything doesn't have to be built on day one. आप धीरे धीरे एक स्टेप हर दिन करो, and more importantly make a progress of 1% every day. If you're doing that, capital is irrelevant at that point of stage.
सर थैंक यू सो मच. असल में मैं अभी कुछ महीने से ड्रॉप शिपिंग कर ही रहा था। और मेरा कैपिटल से कहने का मतलब ये था कि एक जो ब्रांड बन जाता है ना, वो एक ब्रांड अवेयरनेस टाइप की जो चीज़ होती है सर, अगर डिजिटल मार्केटिंग में भी देखी जाए तो उससे कुछ रिटर्न निकालने के हिसाब से इंसान वो करता नहीं है, तो उसमें बहुत ज़्यादा कैपिटल लग जाता है।
तो आदित्य, कोई
और
भी कोई
ये
भी
ड्रॉप
चीज को
शिपिंग
बड़ा
का
बनने
अभी,
के टाइम लगता ही है ना।
हाँ सर, वो भी है। और ड्रॉप शिपिंग में कैसा है कि अभी मेरा एक जनरल स्टोर है, मैं उसको चला रहा हूँ कुछ महीने से, और वो अभी अच्छा स्केल हो रहा है। बट वो ब्रांड ब्रांड स्टोर नहीं है जैसे सर का था। बिजनेस वो अलग ही था वो पूरा।
आप उस पे ये पीआर करना स्टार्ट करो, अपनी कम्युनिटी बनाओ अराउंड दैट पर्टिकुलर प्रोडक्ट। बहुत सारी चीजें कर सकते हो आप ब्रांड अवेयरनेस बनाने के लिए। यू कैन स्टार्ट डूइंग पर्सनल ब्रांडिंग एट द सेम टाइम, ठीक है। ट्विटर पे एक्टिव हो जाओ, लिंक्डइन पे एक्टिव हो जाओ, फेसबुक पे एक्टिव हो जाओ, इंस्टाग्राम पे अपनी कम्युनिटी बनाओ एंड ग्रोथ होगा। I'm definitely like Arjun can give suggestions in terms of what all things he did for branding maybe.
Totally.
Sorry Arjun.
That's exactly what you said. Right? There
Yeah.
are ways to do it with limited money, and you just have to. You have, I think, after Shark Tank, everyone has said कि पैसे के बिना business start नहीं होता है, right? And that's, while there are many advantages of Shark Tank, and this is one disadvantage. Indian businesses have traditionally been built without all this money.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. I completely agree with you. So Aditya, like start doing all of those things, start doing online activities,
Yes.
put in good value content, start doing some SEO at the same time, ठीक है। आपके जो भी नीश है वहां पे आप SEO कंटेंट पोस्ट करना स्टार्ट करो। आज के टाइम पे तो आपको राइटर हायर करने की भी जरूरत नहीं है, AI राइटर्स अवेलेबल है आपको फॉर लाइक 3-4 thousand रुपीज, जो आपके लिए कंटेंट लिखेगा, ठीक है। सो टेक्नोलॉजी इज रियली एडवांसिंग एट अ वेरी रैपिड पेस दैट यू कैन रियली यूटिलाइज। तो वो टेक्नोलॉजीज को आप यूज करो, बिकॉज वो टेक्नोलॉजीज को आप जब यूज करना स्टार्ट करोगे ना, तो यू विल बी एबल टू बिल्ड वेरी रैपिड ब्रांड। एक बार आपका वहां से भी ऑर्गेनिक सेल्स जब बढ़ जाएगा, तो स्टार्ट इन्वेस्टिंग इनटू पीआर स्लोली एंड स्टडीली। अब पीआर में भी जरूरी नहीं कि आपको 3 लाख 4 लाख का बजट है, ठीक है। आप छोटे पीआर, छोटे मैगजीन से स्टार्ट करो, जहां पे आपको 2,000-3,000 रुपए शायद एक आर्टिकल पब्लिश करने के लिए कोई छोटे से मैगजीन में लगेगा, जहां पे आपको शायद 1,000 लोग वो आर्टिकल पढ़े, बट मे बी वो 1,000 लोगों में से 5 लोग शायद बाय कर ले। इट स्टार्ट स्लोली एंड स्टडीली, ठीक है। तो आप वो सब सारी चीजें करो, टेक अ स्टेप एवरी सिंगल डे, एक नया प्रोग्रेस करो, एंड आई एम प्रीटी श्योर यू विल बी एबल टू रीच वेयर व्हाट अर्जुन हैज डन, यू विल बी एबल टू डू द सेम।
Yes sir, thank you
पेशेंस,
so much.
पेशेंस थोड़ा सा क्रूशियल है बस।
Yes sir, completely agree sir, thank you so much, this will help me a lot. मैं जरूर ट्राई करूंगा जो भी आपने कहा है सर।
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Aditya, for your question. We'll move on to Rahul. Rahul, please go ahead and ask your question to Arjun.
Hello, good evening, sir. Arjun sir and Adit sir for giving us this opportunity. So sir, I along with my girlfriend, जैसे सर की स्टोरी थोड़ी सी मेरे को इंस्पायरिंग लग रही है, क्योंकि मैं भी अपनी गर्लफ्रेंड के साथ में ही एक इमिटेशन ज्वेलरी का बिजनेस कर रहा हूँ सिंस लास्ट 3 years. लाइक जैसे आदित्य का भी क्वेश्चन था, मैं सुन रहा था बहुत देर से कि पैसा, तो हम लोगों ने 2000 रुपीज से स्टार्ट किया था विद नो वेबसाइट, ओनली एन इंस्टाग्राम पेज। एंड वहां से हमने धीरे धीरे जैसे फॉलोवर्स बिल्ड किए हैं, धीरे धीरे स्केल करके लाइक वी आर डूइंग 4 to 5 lakhs पर मंथ अभी जो चल रहा है हमारा प्रेजेंटली। तो सर अभी मेरे आपसे ये क्वेश्चन है कि अभी थोड़ी सी हम लोग प्रॉब्लम क्या फेस कर रहे हैं, जैसे वी बोथ आर फ्रॉम मिडिल क्लास फैमिली एंड स्केलिंग का बहुत इश्यूज आ रहा है। जैसे इंडिया में क्या होता है, हमारा ओनली प्रीपेड स्टोर है कि हम प्रीपेड ऑर्डर से लेते हैं, क्योंकि सीओडी जब हम लेते हैं, क्योंकि हमारी इन्वेंट्री मेंटेन करनी पड़ती है ज्वेलरी की, एवरी वीक नया ट्रेंड निकल के आता है कि ये वाली ज्वेलरी हमें अभी वायरल करनी है, फिर ये वाला ट्रेंड चल रहा है। तो मेन प्रॉब्लम क्या, सीओडी हमने ट्राई भी किया बीच में एंड स्केल भी हुआ। लाइक अभी जैसे दिन के अगर 20,000 आ रहे तो सीओडी लेने से 50,000 तक हम लोग गए दिन के, बट उस टाइम पे कैश प्रॉब्लम बहुत हो गया हमें, क्योंकि सीओडी अमाउंट आपको पता वो डिलीवर होने के बाद में कुछ टाइम बाद में रेमिट होता है। एंड वेंडर्स आर लाइक कि उनको अभी चाहिए पैसा, की छोटे छोटे जो कारीगर होते हैं जो बनाते हैं हमारे लिए ज्वेलरीज, उनको तुरंत चाहिए होता है पैसा, क्योंकि उनका फिर काम रुक जाता है, वो नया रॉ मटेरियल नहीं ले पाते हैं। तो बेसिकली एक डेडलॉक टाइप सिचुएशन आ गई, पैसा है नहीं ज्यादा स्केल करने के लिए, सीओडी दे नहीं सकते हैं। तो ऐसी सिचुएशन में व्हाट वुड बी द आइडियल सॉल्यूशन? और दूसरा एक और क्वेश्चन है मेरा, मतलब इसके बाद में कि केपीस क्या होते हैं, लाइक सर जब आप इन्वेस्ट करते हो किसी D2C ब्रांड में, कि कुछ पैरामीटर्स आप जो चाहिए होते होंगे आपको कि ये पैरामीटर्स होने चाहिए बिफोर इन्वेस्टिंग इन दैट ब्रांड, तो वो क्या क्या होता है, एक आइडिया लग जाए, सो दैट कल को मैं फंडिंग उठाने जाऊँ तो आई कैन उस पर फोकस करके आई कैन स्केल इट अप।
Got it. Yeah, look, I'll take the second question first. What do I look at when I invest? I think 50% founder, because I invest in early stage. So who's the founder? How strong are they? Will they fight failure with resilience? Are they the right people or person for that opportunity? So that's 50%. Second is addressable market size. Is the market big enough?
Okay.
30%. And 30% is business economics, which is sales, growth velocity, gross margin, team, loss, or profit, what that is. So that's how I look at investing. In your specific example, I understand COD may what the issue is, right? I get it. But I would say think about 1% increase in your sales every day. If you're doing 1,000 rupees, do 1,010 rupees. Because 1% increase every day means you're 32x increase.
Compounding effect. Got it, sir.
Just think about 1% increase every day. 20% increase every month, 30% increase every month. आपका हो जाएगा.
Okay. Thank you, sir. बाकी आप email ID like as Udit said, email ID मिलेगी तो I will surely try to contact you and
LinkedIn पे connect.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rahul, for your question. We will move to some of the questions in the QA now. So there was a question in the chat as well. Actually, it was from Alok. He was asking, how much is, So Arjun is asking, Alok is asking, how much is the revenue when you say build a business? In simple word, what are the parameters to judge if business has been built? I'm asking this because I have generated over 3.5 crore revenue in my 2 years of operation with 14,000 plus registered customer.
That's a business. So if anyone tells you it's not a business, then they're wrong. It is
Alok, you're doing very well. Like that's almost $500,000 worth of transactions you have made. And
that's the definition of a business. Like if you're doing 10,000 rupees a month, it's not a business. If you're doing 1 lakh rupees a month, it's a business. There's no definition of that.
It just comes down to the scalability, I think.
People who say you're not doing a business, they can say what they want. You are building a business.
Absolutely, I 100% agree on that. Let's move on to the next question. It's from Hargan. He's asking, do you feel getting investor with great profile gives an edge?
Is that the question? Yeah.
It's a question in the chat. So again, I'll repeat. Do you feel getting investors with great profile gives you an edge?
Definitely gives you an edge, but you can also build it without an investor with a great profile.
Great. So let me move on to the next question. When building a brand like MTR or instant food, but organic and tasty, where would you suggest to spend your first 50K, which is about $750, if website and branding, etc. is ready? I think that's a great question, especially for the people who are starting out.
Yeah, I think it's a very good question. If website and brand is ready, I would allocate 10,000 rupees on social media presence and the rest on running experiments for performance.
Great. So Shivam, I think what you can do is probably spend like $150 or 10,000 on social media. I think you can. One suggestion that I would give to everyone over here is please utilize internshala.com. The reason why I'm saying this is because you can find incredibly talented interns because they understand Instagram. They come from an Instagram era now, right? They're born with Instagram. So the way they can create creatives and do reels and everything for your Instagram is incredible. And at the same time, they are very budget friendly. Don't expect them to stick around for a very long time. They would probably be with you for 3 to 6 months maximum as an intern. But then at the same time, you get those interns for maybe around like $150 per month, right? Again, never hire free internship. Do a paid internship and they would work very hard for you for those 3 to 6 months. And this way, what you can do is you can keep your budgets in tight, but at the same time, do not compromise on the quality. So you'll find incredible talents that way. I would highly suggest you to, again, go to internshala.com or just Google it and start using that platform. The listing is absolutely free. I have done that a lot during the initial stages for PitchGround as well, where I was able to hire a lot of those people and ensure that I keep the margins high. So that's one recommendation I would give to everyone. There's a follow-up.
I'm going to answer the follow-up and Naseef's question in the question answer as well. look, I think the question is on performance versus brand, right? And so my example of 10 to 40K is a general example on performance versus brand. You have to maintain a split for brand and for performance and keep that brand expense going as a long-term investment, right? Because the brand expense will improve the efficiency of your performance. And so influencers, content, video creation, social media, this is all brand top of the funnel expense. And so that budget could be 80-20, 70-30, 60-40, whatever it is you should stay consistent to every month spending on that.
So I hope that helps you, Shubham. We have Hansel over here and then Manoj. Hansel, why don't you go ahead and ask a question? Hansel? Okay, we'll move on to Manoj. Manoj, can you please go ahead and ask a question?
हेलो सर, हाय, गुड इवनिंग. गुड इवनिंग अर्जुन भाई. अर्जुन, जैसे आपने स्टार्टिंग में बताया था कि आपका पहले
Manoj, sorry to interrupt you, but can you please keep the questions in English, because we have a lot of people from south of India. So let's just keep the entire conversation in English so that it makes it very easy for everyone to understand.
Okay. So I was asking generally from idea to first order that कितना time लगा? How much time did you take? When you thought you want to go to D2C, like online करना है आपको?
First order is not very difficult. Like friends and family place the first order, that's not a problem. I would say getting the first 1,000 orders is the challenge.
What were the challenges you faced for the first 1,000 orders? Major challenges and minor challenges.
Brand credibility, customers not trusting our brand, orders not reaching on time. So I think what you need to do in your first 1,000 orders is talk to every single customer, understand what they like and not like about the product and the experience. If there is something you can improve or need to improve it ASAP, and use their testimonials and feedback to get more and more orders. Those are the challenges. This will be mitigated.
And how did you expand your team? Like starting team expansion.
I don't know. It's too general a question. I would say that what's the best place to hire a team? Is that the question?
No, not like the best, like hiring the talent, like best talent. How did you start in the like beginning?
Yeah, I think you got to build a culture for your company and a mission of your company and believe in that mission. That's the best way to get high quality talent.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Arjun. I just connect you on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your question, Manoj. We'll move to Hansel. Hansel, are you here now? Hansel? You'll have to unmute yourself just in case if you're trying to speak. You're muted right now, so we can't hear you.
Maybe until then, take the questions in the Q&A box.
Yeah, I'll move to Q&A in that case. So the next question is from Manoj. He's asking, first one, I think he's already asked that. We've
just answered.
Yeah. So the next question is from Nasif. He's asking, how did Google Ads help you?
I think good question. I think with Google and Facebook, the difference, at least in D2C, is that Google Ads are much more contextual. It's people who are searching or have much higher intent. So the ROI of Google Ads is usually higher for D2C. The only thing is that your spend caps out, right? So use Google Ads effectively for high ROI, but find ways to increase the spend because it'll always be better ROI than Facebook. But in most D2C brands, I see 80-20 spend between Facebook and Google. Google just stops.
Perfect. Arjun, how much emphasis would you give on SEO when you're just starting out? Would you recommend D2C brands to start focusing and allocate a small budget so that you can slowly
start buying the Reliance stock and holding it for 10 years? You have to buy it and you have to hold it, right? So you have to do it. It's non-negotiable, else you'll be too dependent on performance. You'll not see results in the short term, but you have to do it.
Perfect, brilliant. So I hope, Nasif, that helps you out. And again, guys, please start doing SEO. Like, it's very, very critical that, like, the moment you start doing SEO, the moment you start writing good articles, it's going to literally flood you with good opportunities, especially if you do a lot of how-to articles. It's really going to help you out. Again, start using AI writers. Today, AI writers are available that will help you to kind of like lower on your cost by almost 99%. You guys can check out pitchground.com. There are some great AI writers available. I'm going to drop the link in this so that you guys can all check out those AI writers as well. Moving on to the next question, it's from Saurabh. He's asking, as a business scales, you are seeing a consistent growth of, let's say, 200 to 250% revenue year on year. How does that valuation work? I know it's dependent on the actual numbers. Just trying to understand what do we have a balanced calculations for the valuation.
I think very good question. I would say the first premise, at least I'm going to comment for consumer brands or products businesses. It's a multiple of sales. Today, that multiple is anywhere between 3 to 6 times sales. In the best case, 7 times sales. So that's the framework, 3 to 7 times. And the growth velocity of 200, 300, 500%, that determines which number you get. If you're growing much faster, then you get 4 times, 5 times. You're going slower, you get 3 times. You're going really, really fast, you may get 6 times, right? But there are many other dynamics into what valuations are. Competition, brand, where the business is, who the founders are, who the investors are. But I think growth helps you get a better valuation in this framework of 3 to 6 times sales.
Perfect. I hope that answers your question, Saurabh. Again, if you have any follow-up question, please do ask. Moving on to the next question from Syed. Is Facebook ads scalable? I've heard that if you invest rupees 1,000, which is about $15, you might get 20 orders, but you invest when you invest 10,000, which is about $150, you might not get 200 orders. Is that true?
There is a law of diminishing returns with scale. And so obviously you will not get the same ROI as when you're spending $15, when you're spending 150, 1,500, 15,000. But the way to mitigate this is to invest in brand. That will increase the efficiency of your performance marketing as well. But yes, the ROI you're getting on day 1 will be different from the ROI you're getting on day 10 and 100. And so you've got to do what you can to try to maintain the ROI. But yes, a 10x ROI, if you're getting on a spend of 100 rupees, will not exist for a 1 lakh rupees.
I would just like to add a few points to that, Syed. So you will always have to make sure that you build a good loyalty program and you're able to upsell and your customers are coming back and doing repeat orders. That is very important because that's your second and third and fourth order and so on is when you start making real money. It's not the first order, because your first order, a lot of amount really goes into the CAC of which is your customer acquisition cost. So make sure that your game is brilliant when it comes to optimizing and upselling your other products or the same products. So make sure your customers are repurchasing from you. San, we are going to come to your question in just a moment. We are answering everything as they came in. So the next question is actually from you. So San's question is, do you think kids ethnic wear market is having a good scope? Do you feel interested in investing in bujuma.com? We are looking for seed capital at the moment to invest in digital marketing. Future plan is to bring nighties and inskirts in the brand name of Bujuma.
I think kids ethnic wear is a great market. It's differentiated products. So yeah, it's a very exciting market and there's lots of potential. So lots can be done. On the investment, I won't comment right now, but I think it's a exciting market for sure.
Awesome. I think San, you should probably like connect Arjun on LinkedIn and maybe you can send him your deck or something over the DM. Moving on to the next question from Naseef. How do we split between performance marketing and brand activities?
Yeah, I think I answered this already. I would say you have to keep a specific ratio, right? 80, 20, 70, 30, 60, 40, whatever it is. But you have to continue that ratio for a particular period. You have to allocate a certain budget for a brand over a consistent period of time, 6 months, 12 months, whatever that is. What the ratio is depends on your business, your brand, etc. But allocating a budget and sticking to that budget or that ratio is very important.
Awesome. I'm going to move on to the next question. It's from Hansel. How much role does a good packaging play? I think it's very crucial, but I think Arjun, you can answer this better.
Yeah, look, it's the beginning, right? It's the starting point of where a customer engages with you. So good packaging plays a very important role, but it's the starting of the conversation. It's like the non-negotiables. I want to build a scalable business, but I don't have a good product. If you don't have a good product, you can't build a scalable business. But if you have a good product, it doesn't mean your business is scaled, right? So packaging, quality of product, efficacy of product, that's the starting point. And so it's a non-negotiable, you have to have it. But just good packaging will not enable you to build it. I've seen so many amazing, beautifully packaged products that have not figured out business and growth and all of those things. But yeah, that's the starting point. You need it.
So Arjun, I have a follow-up question to this myself, right? So if you are as a consumer, since you have made so many sales, especially let's talk about like some of the consumer side of the products for women, especially, do you think like packaging plays a major role for getting the customer back or making them repeat purchases, especially
Not getting them back, but getting them in. The
got
first, getting them back, the efficacy of a product, the experience, how the customer has got the product, used the product, etc. That's fine. But getting the customer in the first time, packaging plays a big role.
Yeah, but does it also help you to sort of like improve your repeat orders potentially when you want them to
repeat orders? The customers already used your product, so the efficacy of the product and the experience is more than packaging. But for the first order, packaging is much.
So when any brand is starting out, you know, if we're talking about good packaging, we are also talking about adding at least 10 to 20% of extra cost. So for any new D2C brand that is potentially starting out, would you really recommend them to focus on the packaging or just the product, keep the margin healthy and not worry about anything else?
It's a very tough one, right? Because like what is good packaging and what is good design? Don't know, right? So my recommendation is always do something which gives you enough, looks good enough, but doesn't burn through your pockets.
Got it. Perfect. So we have the next question coming in from Manoj. He's asking, would you choose to outsource or hire in-house talent, like getting things done by the agencies?
So I think you have to maintain a good mix. At an early stage, you may need to use agencies. What you use agencies for and who the agencies are, I think that's what you'll have to be on your own journey. But at an early stage, you could be using agencies effectively and having team monitor it. Eventually, in the long term, you'll have to in-house.
Great, perfect. I hope that helps, Manoj. Moving on to the next question is from Nishita. She's asking, how can we run an MVP for a D2C brand? I'm thinking if I can sell 100 bottles in 6 to 8 weeks. So what kind of bottles are you talking about, Nishita? Maybe you can mention that. In 6 to 8 weeks at an ad budget of 1 lakh rupees, the product cost is 2,500 rupee, which is about $37.
No, I think she's spot on. She's spot on of how she's thinking about it. I have nothing to add here. That's the way you run the MVP. You see what these customers do and how it goes, and then scale from there. You're spot on in the way of thinking.
Perfect. So I think she just answered a follow back. She's saying it's a skincare serum.
Absolutely, spot on. That's the way to do it.
Perfect. Moving on. I hope that helps you out. So next question is from Nasif. He's asking, should an early stage startup focus on profitability or adding more customers if you're bootstrap?
I would say it's depending on like what you want to do personally, but at a very, very early stage, like the first 3-6 months, add customers for sure. And you focus on profitability, but you have only 10 customers and you're making. So I had a founder once tell me, hey, I'm doing 8 lakh rupees a month in sales and I'm losing 3 lakh rupees. And then a few 6 months later, I'm doing 8 lakh rupees a month in sales and I'm now losing 50,000 rupees. I've reduced my burn by 75%, 80%. I was like, but you've not grown anything at all. So I think it's a tightrope where you don't burn through so much it becomes unsustainable, but adding customers is also very important.
No, absolutely, I agree with
you. The risk appetite is yours, right? So you have to decide what your risk appetite.
Absolutely agree with you. So also Arjun, let's dive into some more like very critical kind of questions, right? Some very difficult questions. So we have often seen that Indian customers are like one of the most spoiled customers in the world, right? They want everything the best, they want everything the cheapest, and at the same time they want everything like absolutely quickly. So in this case, would you recommend to getting into the discounting game? Or would you do a bit more strategy where you probably like increase your MRP and then sort of offer discount? But in general, would you get into the entire
discounting is a good question, but discounting is a double-edged sword, right? And so you want to be very careful how you use it. You use discounting to increase sales, but you use discounting not every day, because you use discounting every day, your brand gets called a discount brand, right?
Correct.
So discount is a lever to increase sales, but it can't be used every day. That's my view.
Perfect. So Arjun, if you can just name like your top 5 Shopify extension that you had used when using when building like Dr. Vaidya's. What were those top 5?
Ecommerce.
Oh, WooCommerce. So let's talk about like 5 favorite plugins that you probably built or you probably used.
I'm so far removed from the business, I don't even remember the five plugin names. I remember the use cases though, but I don't remember the names.
Okay. I'll move on to the next question then.
But I'll tell you what are sort of amazing enablers, right, for D2C. I think WhatsApp automation, like business on board, line chat, very interesting tools there. Shipping, you have shipping aggregators like Shiprocket, Shipify. Those are very helpful. From an influencer marketing perspective, you have high quality agencies available. There's also some fun and exciting tools available for controlling RTOs like Blaze and GoQuick. And then lots in the marketing automation space as well now, right? For later stage brands like WebEngage, with Zoho, Engage, etc. Those are some sort of outside of just the website enablers that you could consider.
Got it. Guys, again, if anyone has any question, please feel free to raise hand if you want to ask him the question directly, or if you don't have any, if you're kind of like shy away from coming on the call, then you can just drop in your question in the QA section. We are more than happy to answer your question. So moving on to the next question, Arjun. We've seen like all of these crazy trends about investments, right? At what stage would you really recommend a startup to really think of raising capital, if at all? And also at the same time, there is a good money and then there is a dumb money, right?
Yeah.
Recommend?
Yeah. I think the second part of the question first, right? Good money and dumb money. You want to be really smart about who you're raising money from, because it's a 5 to 7 year relationship with our investor, right? So I would say be really, really careful who and how you raise. When you should raise, I said this earlier as well, capital should be a catalyst. And so once you've established product market fit and you're limited, that's when you should look at that.
Oh, great. Next question. Do you really think it's possible to sort of build a D2C brand as a remote company?
Absolutely. The only part of a D2C brand which cannot be remote is the warehouse and operations. And if you're doing manufacturing, the rest can be remote. I've seen enough people do it now.
Brilliant. Any sort of like other financing options that you can probably recommend?
Yeah, absolutely. Revenue-based financing. Revenue-based financing is very exciting. So this is a class of debt which is given to businesses based on your recurring revenue. And so usually they offer you 1 to 1.5 times your monthly sales. So let's say you're doing 20 lakhs a month, they'll give you 20 lakhs a month in a debt line, which they collect as a percentage of your daily sales through your Razorpay account. It's great growth capital with no dilution. It's expensive, comes to you at 18 to 24% per annum interest, but it's great bridge capital.
Perfect. So again, I'm going to come down to one more very difficult question. I recently had a discussion with someone who said that influencer marketing is a big no, right? Because the way some of these influencers today that are working, especially on Instagram, they end up doing a video for you, but just to generate engagements, they end up buying a lot of fake likes and comments and fake views at the same time on their reels. So for you as a brand, you are seeing that, oh my God, there's like 100K view that came in and 10,000 likes and probably like 1,000 comments from random bots and random accounts, fake accounts, or from different collaborators who are just posting in as a pod, but that's not leading to like much sales. So would you really recommend brands to even dive into influencer marketing? Then I'll ask a follow-up question.
So 2 things on this, right? One, there's tools for you to be able to figure this out. And so use those tools like Social Blade, etc., to be able to find these things. Number 2, don't go with the guys who have the vanity metrics. There could be a influencer with 5,000 followers who could give you much better results than someone with 1 million followers. And so be really smart and sure about who you use.
Yeah, that was the next follow-up question. It was from Shubham. He was asking, when promoting through influencer marketing, what category of influencer worked best for you? Like, is it micro influencers, nano influencers, or big YouTubers?
So I think for us, we tried everything. We found out who worked for us, whether micro, nano, big, small, celebrity, etc. Who worked for us? We doubled down with those people. That's what Mama did as well, and that's why they're so successful.
Got it. So
I try 10 people. I find 3 people that work for me. I give them more money. And then try another 10, and I find 2 people that work for me. I give them more money.
Got it. Got it. So would you recommend to maybe do a bit of competitor analysis and and just reach out to the same people who worked out in the same niche?
Could work, but don't do it like close together with your competitor, because then it will not yield results.
Got it. Got it. Again, guys, if anyone has any questions, please let us know. We'll probably take some more questions for the next few minutes before we wrap up this session. So the next question is from Nishita. She's asking, did you ever invest in automation, email, SMS, WhatsApp, Facebook, behavioral-based pop-up? These really help in increasing AOV. Did you do that for your brand?
Absolutely, we did, and I recommend it to everyone, because retention is the secret sauce of D2C. Right? You have data which you don't have in offline channels or marketplaces. So definitely invest in automation. Through marketing automation, you can use Web Engage, Wix, Zomo Engage, Notify Visitors, these kind of tools.
I would also recommend you, all of you, that use loyalty programs. That's one of the best ways to retain people and also make them your brand ambassador. So one of the very crucial thing, if you ever want to hit product market fit, is ensure that your customers start talking about you, and good things, not the bad things, right? For that to happen, when you have a good loyalty program, they become your brand ambassador and they start talking about you in WhatsApp groups and different networks. So make sure you're using a good tool for resolving this, because again, it will increase your sales drastically, and at the same time your CAC would reduce massively. So do invest into that pretty aggressively. So next, again, follow-up question is from Nishita again. Did you hire performance marketing agencies on retainer or pay for performance, which is sharing revenue?
I couldn't get anyone to share revenue. So if you can, then that's great. But I couldn't convince anyone to do that.
So did you manage all your ads internally, Arjun, or was it like some external agency?
Internal plus agency.
Okay, got it. Perfect. Moving on to the next question, it's from Manoj. Is asking, what are your favorite D2C niches or categories you would like to invest in?
I'm really excited about health and wellness, personal care, pets, home fitness, and home and kitchen. These 5 categories. Right.
Awesome, awesome. Moving on to the next question, it's from Kapil. When we start a brand journey, should we worry about stealing brand name, or should we do all the legal formalities before starting, like TM? How much we should invest in logo and branding packages, design and all?
So branding, packaging, logo, I just answered the question like 10 minutes ago. So I'm going to skip that part. But on trademark, I think it's really important. It costs you very little. Cost you 7,000 rupees to get a trademark registered. Totally worth doing that at an early stage.
Perfect. I think it will be, I think it will probably cost like, I think 8,000, 9,000 per category, I think, if I remember correctly.
100 rupees is the government fees.
Right. Yeah. So just make sure that you're applying to the right categories and as many categories as possible that is relevant to your brand. Moving on to the next question is from Shoaib. He's asking, we are a clothing brand and we are coming with a funky printed cloth to market youth. Can you share 3 tips on how to grow, of how to market through Instagram and FB ads?
I think, look, have attractive advertising that captures customer interest and makes them click. Have a clean website experience once the customer clicks, and then ensure your quality of product is what you show on the picture, right? Because a lot of times I see something on an ad, I buy it, and it looks completely different. So as long as you do this, you should be okay.
So here is one sort of suggestion that I'll give to everyone. Start using reel ads. It was a brand new feature that was released by Facebook about 6 to 8 months ago. And it's absolutely killing it at the moment. The reason behind that is not everyone is using it, right? Because when you're creating reels, the thing is that you need to really make it very attractive, but you get 60 seconds of someone's undivided attention. So make sure that you're creating a very high quality reels. So start using that. I have yet to see many D2C brands in India to start leveraging this on Instagram. So start using it, and again, it will help you to improve your conversion. So that's what I would recommend, Shoaib. Moving on to the next question. It's a following question on performance agency. How much revenue or share would you be comfortable paying? I know agencies in US would take up to 25% in revenue.
I can't answer this. Right? It's depending on your gross margin, your profitability, your individual metrics. I think it's a good thing if people are willing to share revenue because then they invest in your growth. But what percentage you'll have to take a call based on your unit economics.
Yeah. So Nishit, would not recommend working on the revenue model because it can really affect your margins drastically, and especially 25% is huge, right? So just think about it, make sure that you have decent margin.
Calculations for yourself. Do your calculations.
Yeah, because there could be one thing that could happen, right? So for example, let's say that if you're doing anything on revenue based deal, right, what generally happens is these agencies will also plug you in for the word of mouth marketing that you're generating. So now they end up taking 25% on your entire sort of sales. You're really going to get screwed up. So be careful about making those sort of decisions. Moving on to Manoj is asking, have you ever been an advisory shareholder, like not the capital investment, but advising the brand how to move ahead?
Yeah, I have done it on a few cases. For folks like you, I think you gotta, if you bring on an advisor, it should be someone who you really trust, who adds a lot of value, and who spends time with you. As long as you can get that, it in certain cases can make sense.
Great. Arjun, any sort of recommendation for any specific agency that you have worked with and that has really worked out very well for you?
From which part of the business?
So for performance marketing.
We work with Adiyogi. They were quite good with us.
Sorry, can you spell that?
Adiyogi.
Okay, Adiyogi. Okay. So a few people asked that question, so I hope that helps everyone.
Yeah, reach out to Adiyogi. You can give my ref so that they'll know you came. Like,
awesome.
You know me.
Awesome. Guys, again, if there are any last questions, please let us know, because we are coming very close to like wrapping up this session. This is your ultimate opportunity to ask to him live questions right now before this session gets wrapped up. So Arjun, I have one question for you over here. Is it advisable to look up on Amazon to see what kind of products that are really selling well, and sort of creating a replica of it or a similar brand, and then start selling it as a D2C? Would you recommend anyone?
It's a good research tool. I wouldn't say copy, but I think it's a good research tool. So do your research, see the amount of reviews there are on products, what the reviews are, multiply that by 50, because approximately 1 in 50 people review, know how much sales the product has done. It's a good research tool. I wouldn't say copy, but definitely a good research.
Perfect. That leads to like one more follow-up question. So when utilizing these marketplaces, right, like Myntra, Amazon, Flipkart, and many of these platforms out there, how would you really utilize these platforms in the most and the best possible way? Because when you're listing a brand new product, they're not ranking, right? There's 0 reviews. Like, how would you really start getting traction? Like, would you just ask your friends and family to buy and leave a review initially to kind of like give it a bump, right? Because Amazon is probably going to charge like 20-30% commission. So would you like just do that initially to kind of give it a bump, and then you would start ranking better on these marketplaces, or would you recommend any other strategy?
You have to be on them. And so you got to use marketing on these platforms to be able to start your first flywheel of orders for sure.
Awesome. Any other thing that you would recommend in terms of optimization to ensure that you start ranking better?
Amazon is very technical. So you got to use the right keyword, have the right amount of images, 6 images, 1 video. But there's guides on how to be on Amazon.
Awesome. So I hope that answers the question. We will take this last 3 questions and then we will wrap it up. So there is a question from Nishita. She's asking, thanks so much for your answer. Did you invest in CRO of your store pages?
Yeah, we did, but I would recommend CRO at a later stage. It's a later stage problem. But don't think about it on day 1. But yeah, later stage, yes.
I would highly recommend all of you guys to check out A/B testing, which is currently on PitchGround. It's one heck of an incredible A/B testing tool. The best I have found so far, works seamlessly with WooCommerce and Shopify. It's an absolute must. Everyone should give it a try. This product is just phenomenal. Like the best I have seen so far when it comes to D2C Brand, Shopify, and both WooCommerce, and the ease of testing and doing A/B testing is breeze. So give it a try. I'm pretty sure you guys will absolutely love it. So do invest in CRO tools. As Arjun said, not right away, but as you start scaling up and as you start getting orders, that's when CRO really comes into picture. But yeah, do invest in CRO tools. It's an absolute must. So this is the last question of the day that we'll take. There's one more question, so we'll just take 2 and wrap it up. So Shavi is asking, would you recommend that a skincare brand has a lot of products or keep the products lean and small? I think this is a great question.
Yeah, I think start small and then with time scale up the number of SKUs, but definitely start small because you invest your working capital into one SKU.
Awesome. Your favorite D2C brand from India?
It comes with one, but I would say I really like Whole Truth, Neiman's, Jimmy's Cocktails, Sleepy Owl. Yeah. This whole store.
Awesome. We'll move on to the next question. How do you scale stores with low ticket size and low margin since CPA is getting higher in Facebook ads?
You can't. Low ticket size and low margin, and your CPA is high, you can't scale that store.
So Rahul, you just got to find better products and more importantly, increase your
Think
price.
about unit economics. If it's all of these things are low, then and the CPA is high, you will not be able to.
Yeah, I think Rahul, what you can potentially do is find better products and use these low margin products as an upsell if you really want. That's something that you can do because you cannot have it as your hero products. Your hero products should have, I think, at least like 60 to 80% margins, because that's when you will really start making money. And these low tickets is something that can be an upsell or bump that you can add when someone is making a cart purchase. That's what I would potentially recommend. Arjun, like any other suggestions on this?
No, you're right. Absolutely.
Perfect. So last question of the day before we wrap up. How do you hire an influencer marketing agency? What points do you look at the most? Just work or pricing or what?
I think I would look at work. I would look at pricing, and I would also look at like what they are saying they'll deliver, and then hold them to that. But definitely set a clear scope of work and objective to the agency before you start.
Awesome. With that, we are going to be wrapping up this session. Arjun, thank you so much for all of these incredible answers. I think
My pleasure. Thank you, guys.
People have probably got a ton of value out of it. Before we wrap up, do you have any sort of last closing line suggestions or anything for everyone?
Have a good weekend. Yeah, it was a great session. I had a great time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Arjun. And again, thank you everyone who has attended. I really hope you guys found a lot of value, a lot of suggestions. The session is recorded, so it will go live on podcast, YouTube, and all of the other places. We'll send you an email once it's live in the next 3 business working days. And again, if you have Arjun, can you also drop in your LinkedIn in the chat for everyone, so that way if anyone wants to reach out to you, they can probably connect with you.
Sounds good.
Oh, I think you send it in panelist and host. Wait, let me share it with everyone. There you go, guys. You can send out a request to Arjun on LinkedIn. You can find him over there and you can probably reach out to him. And in case if you want to reach out to me, here is my LinkedIn. You can reach out to me, send me a request. More than happy to help you guys out. Do check out PitchGround. We have some incredible products on Lifetime Deal. I've suggested some for you guys. It's absolute no-brainers. Do check them out, especially the AI tools and the A/B testing tools. It's really going to help you with your D2C brand. With that, we will be wrapping up. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I think you guys made an incredible investment of your time because it's Saturday. And while you could be like partying, you chose to be here. So you're already ahead than most of your competitors. So congratulations to that. And Arjun, thank you so much for taking the time. I think this is by far the most value-packed session. And hopefully we can see you back in the future once again. Thank you so much, Arjun. Thank you, everyone. And great one, everyone. Bye.